You're listening to the Good News Podcast with Jamie Holtum, brought to you by NBUC.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Good News Podcast. This is episode number 10, and we are in for a treat today. This is week 2, a series on mental wellness, and we have Mary Jacobs joining us today. She is someone who is an expert in this field. She works in the area of social work. She's also going to share her own experiences around mental health challenges that she has had, and she has so many practical resources. We're going to be blessed by this session. Glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So glad you could join us for episode number 10 of the Good News Podcast. And really excited to have Mary Jacobs with us. We're continuing our series on mental wellness, mental health, and Mary has tons to share, believe me, around this topic. I think you're going to be blessed and encouraged and informed and inspired today. So glad that you could join us. Mary, so thankful for you, not just for doing a podcast today, man, but we've shared a lot of life and leadership around the church, and particularly around this topic and trying to help others around this as well. But maybe a good place to start would be your own experience around depression, anxiety, and mental wellness. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jamie. Well, I was just thinking about it. It's been over 20 years now since I have sort of been diagnosed with some depression. So back in that time, I was working downtown. I had 3 young kids, and my mother had died suddenly like a year or 2 before. But all of the stresses came together. And then it was like I was crying at work. I was very irritable. I wasn't doing well. And work's like, I think you need to stay home. So, I think about that journey and how far I've come in terms of understanding and the information I know about mental health. Because then once I figured out my own, life in terms of, some counseling, taking some medication, de-stressing my life, learning how to cope well, then I really gained a real passion around when I'm helping people that if I can see those symptoms, it's like, what can I do to help you? How does that look? So I ended up taking a job from downtown to locally here in Brampton so I could take care of my family better and have fewer hours on the road. And ended up working with Ontario Works clients who I think a lot of them often struggle with those same issues. And mental health often becomes part of other stresses in your life, or it might be part of a physical issue. You're not able to physically do labor anymore and you don't have an education. So how do you move forward? That can cause some depression for some people, right? But we forget that depression actually is just as physical as some of our physical ailments, but we don't like to talk about them.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think that's so true, isn't it? The stigma sometimes, and even though we've been, as a church, working on this for some time, trying to open up the conversation, it still is a hard topic, isn't it? And how do you see that? The stigma, the challenge for people to talk about, even in your work that you do with your clients?
Well, and that's always a challenge, but part of it being open to calling it perhaps something else. Maybe we call it stress. We call it, not feeling well, not doing well, whatever you want to call it. We may not have to name it, but we can say, so are you experiencing things like you're not sleeping well? Are you irritable with your kids? Are you not functioning? Are you not getting dressed in the morning? Are you not showering? All these behaviors that can really impact your life. Once anxiety or depression starts changing your life in terms of you're not doing life, like you're not getting up, or you're not taking care of your kids, or you're not eating properly or whatever, then that's the time you need to get some help, because it's probably going to get worse. And part of it, I think, is just being open to talking about my own experience and I used to work in the men's shelter at one point,
Yeah.
and
Remember?
the guys would say, I think I've got depression. I said, well, have you talked to your doctor? Well, no. I said, so if you had a broken leg, would you go talk to the doctor? Yeah. Well, now you need to go talk to your doctor about depression because there are lots of medications. They don't work overnight, but it's kind of like diabetes. It doesn't work overnight either. So sometimes there's a bit of playing around with medication. There are different medications. It's always, you have to work with your doctor on that pieces. But it can be frustrating. And of course, you're still not feeling well immediately. And so sometimes that is a challenge, but part of that's about giving hope to people. You can do this.
Yeah.
And part of that being and that's what I talk to a lot about clients, like give things a chance, try doing this. And a big thing can be about self-care. So it may not be a big issue. It may be just see if you can get a bed by 10 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
And have a shower.
Yeah.
Like it's about making small goals in terms of, right. So success can be, it's about making progress. And so, because, how long did it take you to get there? It's not going to fix itself overnight.
Yeah.
But people just need to know they have hope.
Yeah.
And so whatever that looks like. And, so for some of my clients, I'll say, I'm going to call you in a week and see how things are going.
Yeah.
You decide whatever you do. What goal you're going to set and see how that goes. And so sometimes that really helps people to know someone's going to check in on them. And, and that's what I do in my own life.
Yeah. Cares enough to check in, eh?
Cares enough to check in and that they have someone. Because often people are quite isolated, especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
People aren't going out. They're afraid. They're, overwhelmed. They don't want their kids to get sick. There's online schooling. So there's a lot of impacts going on at home, but you still have to take care of you or you can't take care of anyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes that might mean, you got to park the kids for an hour on the TV
Yeah.
while you meditate, go for a walk, whatever it needs to be, keeping the kids safe, of course. But finding those little things to do for yourself. Because often it's about the little things that you take time for yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe it is only 5 minutes, but you took 5 minutes just for you to either meditate or take care of yourself in whatever way. Maybe you're journaling. Maybe you're making a gratitude journal. Maybe you're, calling a friend, having a quick check-in.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a text. Maybe you're going to help somebody else. All of these things I have been trying to do because that's what I find helps me. And see, for me as a helper, I need to do things for other people.
Yeah.
That's how I get hope and that's how I get energy.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Well, it's funny.
As long as I don't take on too much.
Yeah. So let's go back to, because you do share a bit of your own experience, like in the work that you do, which is really cool. What was helpful for you when you were in the midst of the depths of that depression? What were some of the things as you look back that were helpful for you to move through that?
Yeah. I had fabulous family support.
Yeah.
So family said, do what you got to do. Take medication, counseling, whatever you need to do. I mean, I think that's a big thing, having a support network, whatever that looks like, friends and family. I think having a way to know that there was hope. So whether I was praying or I was talking to somebody, said, this will get better.
Yeah.
Talking to my doctor, figure out, Mary, you have to de-stress your life. You got to be a better mother. Not better in that sense, but, have more time for it so you enjoy it. When you're stressing about everything, then you're not enjoying that time. And I mean, at that point they were young, right?
Yeah.
They're in their 20s now. So
So that decision that you made to move work to Brampton as opposed to downtown Toronto gave you more time for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
De-stress, decomplicate, simplify a bit.
And be part of their lives and, participate in whatever. It just gave me so much more flexibility and so much less stress in my mind because I was focusing just on my caseload and I was doing management. So it meant that I wasn't worrying about whether somebody else was showing up to do work or any of those kinds of pieces. It was, I left at 4:30 and I could leave my job at work and have my life at home. And so that's not always possible for everybody, but for me, that was a really good decision because I had, my spouse at that time, I think, was busy traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you got to get the stability in there somewhere. And that really helped me move forward.
Yeah. You mentioned prayer, and I'd just love to delve into that a little bit, where your faith, your relationship with God, prayer has been helpful for you, and obviously some of the work that you're doing with others these days. Maybe I'm not sure how that works as far as in your day job, but certainly your role in leading around the church. That's a huge part of what you and we offer. But how that prayer for you. Let's start with you. How that prayer and faith.
So prayer, I think is very powerful. Like it's one of my other tools that I use. God also gave us a brain that we should, ask professionals to help us with this. But part of it being, I think it gives us hope and to know that he's always there.
Yeah.
Like anytime you want to talk to him, day or night, whatever that is, you can speak to him because some people get sleepless. And so that can be a nighttime issue, right? So for myself, I think that was important. And what I do now also is I tell people I am praying for them because I think that is very powerful to know that someone else is praying for
100%.
you.
Yeah.
So some of my follow-up might be like by text or email. So I always do that. And like when it wasn't COVID, I'd be given a big hug, but that's not possible. So a lot of virtual hugs I send.
Yeah. That's great.
But like I think it's just that there's someone there.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
That's the key to that.
And because some of us may be listening today and they may be or watching and may be thinking, okay, I want to support other people who I'm concerned about. And just those little things that you mentioned about reaching out, about not forgetting, talk about that a little bit, if you would, how people can help others who are struggling with depression and anxiety and mental health.
I think the piece to remember is that people don't feel the best every time. So you might ask them for coffee and they say, I'm not so good. Keep asking. You have to keep asking. And eventually they're going to say, okay, I'm going to take you up on that. And that will be a wonderful opportunity for them to get out of the house, to, talk to another person. I think part of that is asking them, how can I help support you? Because it'll look different for different people. They might say, oh, can you keep asking me to go out? Or, can you pray with me? Or can you go to the doctor with me? Or can you give me a ride to the doctor? Because I don't feel safe going on the bus or anything. So I think because every person will be different, I think the best thing is to be open and honest about saying, I want to help you. I know you're on a hard journey right now. How could I support you? What ways? And say, I can also, ask me anytime if you think of something else. Right? So that's a big way. I think trying to be non-judgmental, I think is really important because, we might see them, they're always sitting on the couch and they're watching TV or they're not dressed or they're not whatever. And so it's like, well, if you just get dressed, I think you would feel better. And it's like, no, the depression is saying, or the anxiety is saying, no, I can't do that today.
Yeah.
So I think allowing that and being open to it and not sort of, criticizing them or giving advice about how to make this better. And I think the other thing is supporting their decision, whether or not they go to counseling, whether or not they take medication at some point, but I think encouraging them to see their doctor. Because I would say right now is people, actually just heard a recent commercial saying people need to be honest with their doctors. Because right now doctors are on the phones most of the time because of COVID. And it's like, be honest with your doctor because they can only help you based on what you tell them. So if you call up and say, I got a hangnail, but really you're saying, I can't cope in my head.
Yeah.
They may not know that unless you say, I'm not getting out of bed every day on time.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something going on. And most doctors, not all doctors, nobody's perfect. But most doctors will appreciate you saying those things. And you may try some medication, or maybe, check in with me in 2 weeks and let's see how that goes. Or we have a social worker, we can do some counseling with you. And the other great resource that the ministry has set up is for, it's called Bounce Back, which requires a referral for your doctor, but it's online. This is a wonderful resource, especially for anxiety, because they are offering you free cognitive behavioral therapy through through Zoom or whatever platform. And so you would set that arrangement up, and your doctor, and if they are concerned about anything, they're going to let your doctor know. So maybe they think the medication's not working, or, if it becomes like you're telling them I'm having suicidal thoughts, they're going to let your doctor know. Oh. So that's a really great one. Yeah. And sort of related to that is, it used to be called Big White Wall, and now it's called Together All. Kind of rhymes. But it's a peer support site. So again, and I think what they do is, so there's like chat rooms or group support, that kind of thing. But also they do a lot of artistry. So people, maybe they play music or they draw or it's a platform to share on there. So that's a great resource, like a more informal resource. And then the other exciting website, well, Anxiety Canada has some really great resources, and they have an app that you can put on your phone. Oh my goodness,
really? There's an organization, Anxiety Canada.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, cool because it's so prevalent, and what a great resource for people who are listening.
And they actually have an app.
Okay, and what is that on the app? What is it?
So it's going to do some kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, because really anxiety, the best treatment for it is really changing your thought.
Yeah.
It's a little different than depression. It doesn't react so well to medication, but if you're just dealing with anxiety, it helps you to change your thought processes, because that's really what's causing the anxiety. So it's really great to have those supports. So if you're, it's on your phone, you can do a little session, or you get mindfulness things. Like there's a lot of different apps. You can access a lot of resources that way if you're that kind of person. I know not everybody is. If you're older, you might not be so keen about that. So right now, a lot of resources are available by phone.
Okay.
So Canadian Mental Health Association has a counselor available immediately, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. So, if you're having a bad day, feeling overwhelmed, not coping well, call them.
Yeah.
It's not a nighttime resource, but I mean, most people can usually figure something out during that daytime. And there's so many resources out there right now. Like if you are employed and you have an employee assistance program, most of those have free CBT, gives you access to some counseling usually for some payment of that. So there's lots of online resources, and I know we share some of them through your weekly send out. And Rolf has made an extensive list. Yeah. Rolf is our chair of our mental health initiative, but he has an extensive list, and including some stuff for children's mental health, because I know when September came and people had to decide on how they were going to send their children or do online, or, how was that going to work with masks? And it was a lot of worry and stress, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. I really wanted to ask you about that. Like, how have you seen the impact of COVID around anxiety, depression, people's mental health?
Well, COVID has just emphasized it for anyone who already had those issues. I mean, you can be introverted, but even as an introvert, you don't want to be stuck inside all the time. So definitely. And I think, though, what's happened is that if anything was kind of borderline, it's been really emphasized. So I think people who, may not have thought they were anxious have really noticed that their anxiety and for some people, depression have significantly increased. And I think it's fascinating now how the government's realizing they really need to step up and fund mental health like physical health.
Mm.
And that's actually a campaign that's out there right now, is that mental health is health.
Yeah.
They're not disattached.
Yeah.
So they all work as one. So, if one part is not working well, and, because for depression is around, an actual chemical imbalance. So that, it's as physical as anything else.
Yeah.
And anxiety is it's about our thought processes.
Yeah.
So that's why, oops.
And sorry. And can be just as debilitating as a physical illness, right? Like
For sure.
Absolutely.
And then often they're combined.
Yeah.
Like if you are struggling with some kind of health issue,
Yeah.
frequently there's mental health and depression and anxiety comes up with that because you're worried about it.
Yeah.
The worry, the inner irritability, the I don't know what the future is, the I don't have hope, or I don't know where to find hope. So all those pieces really go into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of hope, I want to maybe close with this, if we could, Mary. You through your work day to day, but also your ministry, I'll call it, at the church, like big time, you've seen, because sometimes people could be in a situation where they or a loved one, someone they're caring for, you just can't see the light. And it just seems like it's not going to be possible for change to come to. And I know, we live with these things. We learn to manage them. Like that's all part of it, but just and without naming names necessarily, but just any examples of where you've seen people come through and they're in a different place today because of some of the things, some of the resources that you've talked about, some of the ministry that you've done, being part of some of the groups that you've led. Yeah. Any examples of that, and don't want to protect people's, privacy and that, but
we've had several people, and one gentleman that we needed to rehouse, and we got him hooked up with a housing grant, but lots of mental health as well, and he's doing really well now. And so much so he's going to, when COVID, if it lifts, is going to volunteer at another hospital in terms of helping a support group. Several people have, they've found their way, in terms of they've tried some medication, they've, got themselves into a better situation. I think that gives me hope always.
Yeah.
That people can do that. And I think just you have to know that it will happen. And you have to keep trying till the right combination comes together. And I never know, we were actually talking here prior to the taping, was you never know when a smile, a text, a gesture, a comment just makes somebody feel not suicidal. So the whole thing that's come out around be kind, it is so true. Be kind. Think whether, what positive thing can you say to somebody, even if it may be impacting you negatively. Maybe you're waiting longer in the line. Maybe it's impacting you moving along, but will one more minute really change the world for you? Having that patience and just, give a smile, help someone out in whatever little way it might be. Because that's, for me, because I'm a helper. Helping is how I get energy and how I feel I need to, help people move forward. That just gives me so much hope.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's because we all can do that. We all can, offer a smile, send a text, be kind to people, and
it's very
even
easy.
Strangers. And exactly. And you never know. That's why it's called the Good News Podcast.
Right.
We are the good news. We are God's good news in action here and now. And you never know when you do something like that could literally change somebody's world. You just never, ever know. Mary, I love you so much. I just so appreciate you. Thank you for sharing a bit of your story, some of your incredible resources. Is there anything you wanted to add before we're done? Because I just don't want to leave.
I just want to remind people that we do have our weekly Zoom group for our peer support group at the church here. So if anybody's interested, just contact me because I will send you the Zoom link.
Absolutely. And we've seen, again, lives impacted in a very positive way through this group, maybe for you or somebody who you know.
Yep.
Thanks, Mary, for getting that little plug in at the end. Good job. Good job. And thanks for joining us on the Good News Podcast today. And again, may God continue to bless you, your health, but also the health that you bring to others by what you do every day and here at the church. Thanks, Mary, so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And God bless you. Hope that today's conversation has been helpful. And Mary's challenge at the end, I echo it. Send a smile, shoot a text. Let's show kindness to people, and God will do amazing things through that. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Good News Podcast with Jamie Holtum. If you liked what you heard today, please share it with a friend who may benefit from today's conversation. And if you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to this show and turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and we'll see you next time.